Unturned is presented by UpdateAI.
I was the end of the road. No one above me would come in and like ever engage with customers. And I know that it's hard to get jobs right now, but like I'd be looking for a company where I had that executive buy-in all the way from the top. And that's what I have. Our CEO has said to me, hey, just tell me who you want me to call. I'll call anybody. Like I'll go visit anybody, because I think I'm at a company where customer success is not a department for us. It is truly something that like all of our executives take on. I mean, we're bonused in a way that the whole company is bought into our customers being successful. The way that I explain it to our executive leaders, I'm like, I asked our CEO, if a CSM from one of the software tools that we use wanted to meet with you, would that get your attention? He's like, of course it wouldn't. Like, that's ridiculous.
No, my favorite is everybody just did this as like we're not typing on the podcast.
Hands up. Yeah. Raise your hand if you're wearing pants, everybody.
I'm wearing pants, guys.
Those are not pants.
They're shorts. They're shorts.
Pants.
Look, there's layers.
Oh, okay. All right. They're like some Fabletics or something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They're supportive. I have reasons to be supported, Josh.
He said Fabletics in a very condescending way.
It's a great brand, by the way.
I like Fabletics. They got me, and then they moved me to like full price, and I was like, I was used to the initial offer.
Isn't
Kristi,
it amazing how brands will take care of new customers, but they won't take care of existing customers?
I feel like there's a podcast episode about that we should dig into.
Yeah, there's a podcast for that. Well, hello, guys. Welcome. It's been a while since we've all been on the show together. I am Josh Schachter.
The energy is just...
Yeah.
It's energying.
We've got Jon and Kristi, my co-hosts, and Reanna Dempsey. Reanna is the VP of Customer Success at Unanet, and we are so thrilled to have Reanna on the show. Thank you for joining us today.
This is officially my first podcast ever, guys. So this is a big deal.
Oh,
really? Oh, yeah. Gosh. This is where you started?
Yeah, I did. I feel like it's all going to be letdowns after this. That's my feel.
I hope
you guys don't share. You don't.
It's possible. It's either going to be like this will be the high of your podcast career or the low of your podcast.
I take
career.
every episode.
There's no middle.
Yeah.
There's no middle.
Every episode is either the best or the worst in my experience.
That's true. There's no middle ground. But that's
usually the best ones. The ones when Jon isn't here.
Hey.
Oh, just kidding.
That's Josh's play.
Jon gets the most love of all of us. So anytime that anybody asks anybody about the podcast, oh, Jon's my favorite. He's the best.
They're
I
just
love
bitter.
your thoughts and opinions.
Sounds that way.
Followed by me.
Okay, now
nobody likes you, Jon.
Nobody wants me. Nobody likes me. I am totally the Ed McMahon of this podcast, of this series.
No, we should have had the first like 3.5 minutes because I feel like we had a bit of a hot take on Rihanna's candy choice.
I'm sorry, what's her name?
We did.
Rihanna.
Okay. That's right. He got
Josh,
it. Yep.
I got it right.
I know, but you stumbled, and I'm just drawing attention to that.
Oh my God.
Thank you for that. What is this is the time of year for you. Can we reiterate what our candies are for the Halloween season as we approach? Rihanna, what did you say?
Yeah, so I have a struggle with all of these seasonal Reese's. So for me, it would be, and I think I said eggs. It's the eggs, the trees, and the pumpkins. So that is really
they're all the same.
Peanut butter to chocolate ratio.
No, I guess it's the egg.
Yeah, it's just the egg. Yeah. So the pumpkins, the Reese's pumpkins, my kryptonite, and it is a struggle. Yep.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to have peanut butter in my house because it'll kill my daughter. And I really,
that's a good reason not to have it.
Yeah. Yes. Not enough EpiPens in the world. No, but I love Reese's like so much.
Yes.
So when
do you like
travel,
drive to a store? Do you buy them and eat them in the car, like privately? And like, do you have like a lot of wrappers and you sit there in shame when you're done?
That actually is not far from the truth.
I had a very specific visual.
Literally.
That sounds like a personal
No, but when I do
anecdote.
go on travel, when I go on my travel trips, when I get on the plane, I get Reese's peanut butter cups, and it's heaven. And I wash my
Rihanna,
face
tell
with
us
my hands.
about Unanet.
Great segue, Josh. Real natural segue there. From peanut butter
I've been polishing it for a while.
to
2 years of working with me.
Unanet is a company. We focus on project-based businesses. So we've got a lot of products that really cater to project-based businesses. Half of our business, roughly, is in the government contracting space. So we have financial systems and a CRM product and inventory and manufacturing solutions. A lot of fun things. And then the other side is our AEC industry. So architecture, engineering, construction firms. And that space, same kind of model. We've got an ERP focusing on financials and project management. And then we have a CRM. And that is basically us in a nutshell. So been around sort of I found it when I joined the company 5 years ago, founded by a female like 25 years ago, which you weren't really hearing a lot of female founders in the financial ERP space. And she was sort of paving the way and has a really cool backstory, family built company, and she still serves on our board. So really, really cool history of the company. And then we're private equity backed now, kind of in that hyper growth phase.
So she came. So the PE shop came in 2020. Who's the PE that?
Yes, JMI
John, stop
Equity.
typing. Wait, hold on. Sorry, John. I can still hear you typing.
I don't understand.
I hear you typing.
That was definitely you.
Every time.
We saw it that time.
This is what we deal with.
We saw the hands.
Yeah. I know.
No, I just was looking up the PE firm that bought Unanet.
Just listen. You have 2 ears, one mouth.
Oh, this is great. JMI Equity. JMI Equity.
Okay, cool. Good old JMI. Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they bought it in 2020, and then you came into the organization to, don't do it, John. You came into the organization to build customer success.
Yes. Yep. They had customer success when I joined. It looks very different now than what it did, I would say. So lots of changes. I would say, CS was seen as kind of like a note taker, like we were coming into the meeting and taking a lot of notes and then setting the next meeting, but not really driving strategy, definitely not thinking about driving growth within the accounts. Data was pretty disparate, like a lot of things that I think are pretty normal at the stage that we sort of entered the picture. So lots of building and, forming the team. I'm pretty proud because let me think, it's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's 7 of my original team, like still with me, like the people that I wanted to really make sure stayed. And that's hard because it was a very different experience. And of course, as you all know, we were in the office. So when I started in March of 2020, I was in the office for 3 weeks and it was very much an in-person feel. So to go from that over to fully remote, PE kind of pace, it's been a lot of change, and they've sort of weathered the storm and stuck with us, which has been really great.
And what is the team like? What did it look like then? And what does it look like now, the composition?
Yeah. So I think I had maybe 12 people on the team when I joined. And when I joined, I was hired for the GovCon side of the business, and we only had an ERP then. And I think it was like the second week on the job that my boss like dropped in a meeting. Oh, we want you to focus on the other ERP product too. I was like, wait, this is first I'm hearing of this. I've since given him grief on that many times, but now the team, we're almost 50 people. So right around 50. So, we have a renewals team now. We have an ops team. We've got, a GovCon and an AEC team, and then some specific roles under those. So sort of, ready for the next phase and able to scale with the org structure that we have.
Okay, cool. So you come in 5 years ago-ish, and you've got this 20-year-old startup right at that time.
Yep.
And you are taking them to the next level on organizing and structuring their CS initiatives. What are the first 3 things that you do when you come in?
Yep. So first was obviously analyze the people, like understanding who do I have, who do I think has the right mentality to kind of get through this next phase and really clearly articulate what the role is today and what we expect the role to be in the near future. So kind of that roadmap for the people. And I remember it was pretty cheesy now that I'm thinking back, but it worked because we were only GovCon and we laid out this vision of like, we're sort of like, in like a jet formation. And if you want to like be on the team, we had this whole, instead of getting on the bus, it was all about a jet because we were, lots of our customers are military focused. It worked for us. But I did have a few people early on just kind of opt out on like, that doesn't sound like the type of role that I want to do. I get where we're going, which was great. So I feel like getting that out of the way early was a good move. And then data would be the second big piece. I mean, data I remember when I joined, we were considering basically having two sources of truth for our team. And I was like, guys, we cannot do this. So, just to give you a very tactical example, the first escalation I had, I remember CSM came in, we're sitting down because we're still in person at the time. And they start telling me this situation going on with the customer. And so at first I was like, hey, can you just tell me what, like the name of the customer, like what's their ARR, kind of how long have they been a customer? Some like very table stakes kind of data points. And they were like, oh, well, the customer pays X amount per user per month. And I was like, okay, well, how many users is that? I'm literally like doing the math just to get to, and it's because they didn't even have access to that data. And I didn't even realize it because it was like day 2 on the job. So I couldn't even run a report back then myself. Now finance could, but it was this weird sort of, wait, so we can't even run a report to see what customers we have and sort of who's, at the upper end. And it was fascinating. So there was a massive amount of sort of data, like just accessibility, like where's the data going to be, and then clean up, and then making sure the team had the reports that they needed to, run their book of business in a way that made sense. So that was, and I would say after that would just be industry knowledge, because I was an outsider. So it was like the people, the data, and then just understanding the customers, who they are, why do they buy, what does our product do for them, the value that they get. Because I still feel like I'm a total outsider 5 years in. I'm like, this whole government contracting world, I feel more comfortable with AEC. My father started a construction business 30 years ago that my husband works at now. And so I'm very familiar. I worked there for 2 years. I
AEC is
understand
architecture, engineering, construction.
And construction. Yeah. Yeah. So much more like familiar with that side of the house. And I think like we built a house, so I worked with an architect. At least I understand what happens there. But the government contracting space was completely new to me. And so it's been definitely learning a lot over the past 5 years about the industry.
Yeah. Hey, Reanna, can I interject here for a question? You did your people analysis, data analysis, industry analysis. At what point when you entered the company did you spend time doing a deep dive on your customers?
Well, I would say almost immediately. I mean, once I had the data to figure out who should I talk to, then I started, I don't want to call it a formal listening tour, but just getting on the phone with as many customers as possible and just having conversations with them. Like, hey, I'm new here. Like I could play the new card. So I would say during the first 90 days, doing as many of those listening calls as I could and just asking them, like, what's been your experience? What surprised you about working with us? Or, just kind of asking the higher level questions and letting them talk. And it did start to also uncover some things that we should have been doing for them that we weren't pretty early on. And we've been able to build like one very obvious thing I can think of is just certification in our product. So we have a certification now. We didn't have that before. So, but I spent a lot of time the first 90 days, just listening, and every customer escalation I joined. I'm like, even if I couldn't I didn't have the product expertise sometimes, but I just want to listen to what you're saying and not do a lot of talking. And that was helpful.
I love
How
the new
different
card.
were the things that you were hearing from your customers versus your team about your customers? Because I'm always interested in hearing that, right? Like CS teams, like, oh, everything is great. They're happy. They're using the product, getting tons of value. You speak to the customer, it's a very different conversation. So how different was that from what you were getting from your team and the data versus what your customers were telling you early on?
I think it was actually surprisingly very consistent. And I think with the GovCon product, now with the CRM product, that has been a very different experience. And I think it's because it's a CRM, adoption's a little bit harder. That like if you want to get paid, you have to use the ERP, right? Like if you want to get hands up, if you want to submit expenses and submit your time, like you have to log into the ERP. So adoption not as hard. But on the CRM side, I think we would hear a lot of people that had been at the company for a long time, because that was an acquisition we made, I think in 2021 or 2022. I can't even remember now. It's all blending together. I think 2022. And definitely a misalignment of, yes, some customers are incredibly happy, but there are a lot of product gaps that I don't think we were paying attention to. And we're still in that process. I think CRM's harder. There's more, quite frankly, like more CRMs out there than there are like niche ERPs. Like, you know, we know who our competitors are, but CRMs are popping up every day. So we have to really stay in tune to like what is going to help our customers. I do think we've got a really good process now, but though I think I was surprised more by those conversations on the CRM side. And it wasn't necessarily reality with what I was hearing.
You're working with big companies and companies that presumably are very buttoned up because of their size, but also because of the industry that you're in. You mentioned GovCon and, AEC, architectural, engineering, construction companies. I know you've got folks like Accenture and General Dynamics and these other monster organizations that you work with. How does that impact the approach, the CS approach of your team?
Yeah, and especially on the AEC side, we didn't have a lot of large customers 5 years ago, and now we do. So I think, and same with we've just continued to go up market, and that is absolutely the model for enterprise customers, completely different from the rest of the business. And I think, you know, Kristi, when you were talking about doing deep dives into customers early on, we were very much the all customers are created equal model. Like that was, we love all of our customers. They're all, and we do, like we still love all of our customers, but it's just, we cannot afford to give the same level of service to a customer that pays $1 million a year as someone that pays 5,000. And that was actually a cultural shock to a few of my CSMs who are still here, but they were like, wait a minute, we've never thought about it that way. We're like, it's sort of, you know, logical when you think about it that way. So we have a customer success engineer role that we had, but we kind of doubled down on. So for our enterprise accounts, we absolutely make sure we have the CSM, which is definitely the quarterback there. They need to know their customer. They need to know their executives, really be a partner in the relationship. But then when it comes to like diving deep into the product, we have our CSE team, and we have one of those assigned as well to all of our enterprise accounts. So they kind of have the expert on call, and we have the CSM. And then we have we just have to have that executive engagement. It's just dangerous when we don't. I'm sure all of you in your careers, it's like you have these great relationships down at the director level and they love us and they're doing great things. And then a new CFO comes in and we're not multi-threaded. We don't have the executive relationships. You're immediately at risk, even if you've done 5 years of like foundation laying and you have 100% adoption. Yep. Without those additional relationships. So we've actually prioritized, and I don't even know, like quantitatively been able to report now on, especially for enterprise and mid-market, like who are our customers, who are the execs, and when's the last time we engaged with them. And no, sending them an email does not count. Like we also had to get out of that. Like just because you send an email to an executive does not mean that they're engaging with us. So we had to kind of take time to define what does that relationship and partnership look like when it's done right. And we're still working on that. Is a work in progress. I could give you a great real life example because it just happened. So Tuesday, we went to Dallas to meet with, and Josh, I had just missed you. Remember, you were in Austin and we were coming to Dallas. So one of our largest accounts, they've been with us for a long time, but they've also grown with us. So when they started, they were, I think, around 200 million. Now they're approaching 500 million. So growing with them, it's been really fun. Like just to give you an example of them, they rented out Jerry World, like AT&T Stadium, for their 130th anniversary party. Like this is an amazing company. They have
130 years they've been up.
130 years. Yes. They're an engineering firm, 130 years. It does. Okay. I could probably, they probably want me to say their name on the podcast. I didn't get their permission, so I won't. However, that's fine. So basically sat down with them. We had 6 people from our side attend. We had 2 I would say, tactical meetings with some users while we were there, getting feedback on product stuff that they had been asking for, talking through one of the new features that they had been piloting, seeing how it was going. So we had the tactical, but then the last session of the day was an executive meeting. We had 5 of their C-level executives in the room with us, which I'm like, they're busy. Like, they have a lot going on. And I guess the culmination, that's been a 3-year partnership that my enterprise CSM has been cultivating. And it didn't happen overnight, but the fact that their COO did a drop-in during the day, he said, listen, guys, I'm on a project. So I have to, I can't stay, but I just wanted to tell you how important this partnership is to us. And thank you for being here. And it was just like a great testament. And then we were only supposed to have an hour with those C-levels. And again, we had head of like business development, we had their chief strategy officer, we had their chief financial officer, all sitting in this room. And we ended up going until 5:30 instead of 5. And then we ended up going to dinner with them as well. We had scheduled dinner, So I think the fact that people show up and then they keep talking because it's important to them and because they know, yes, we care about our product, but like if we don't understand what your goals and your KPIs and what's important to you, we can't do the other things with the product. Like, we have to have that as a base level of understanding. But then I think what we've done over the years is also reminded them of the value that we've brought to the partnership. And like, hey, remember when you asked for these 5 things? We've delivered 4 out of 5, and the 5th one, here's the status and the expected delivery time. So we have to constantly cycle back to remember why you bought, remember why we're in this together, and then actually do what we say we're going to do. Because if we didn't do that, I doubt they would be showing up. So that's what good looks like. That's what we're really trying to get to.
Hey everybody, it's Josh. I'm taking a quick break from the podcast to tell you a bit about UpdateAI. I started UpdateAI to solve 2 major challenges for CS teams. The first is that we save CSMs 4 to 5 hours per week with our productivity through AI. Secondly, we give leaders a window into all the conversations across each account and the entire portfolio. So we help knowledge transfer, we help increase the coverage model of your CS teams, and we help you detect emerging patterns in what your customers are telling your CSMs across all the risks, product feedback, advocacy moments, and expansion opportunities. So come check us out at www.updateai. It's completely free to sign up and trial.
I want to ask a quick question. This is a topic that I think a lot of people hear as CSM. So a little context: I'm an IC within my team. So
You're not really an IC. Like it's like a misnomer. You're the man.
No, only in your mind, Josh. It's fine.
Okay. In my mind, you're a leader.
But in a lot of folks that do hear this, like, hey, we need to get multi-threaded. We need to have these executive conversations. We need to get these deep relationships. And you even just said this kind of was a culmination of a couple of years of work, with your senior CSM. I'd love to kind of understand your perspective as a leader on the responsibility of a CSM to build those executive level conversations. That's often where we get a lot of the hard work. It's easy to work with the directors because we're talking to them every day. We're talking to the users. We're in the weeds solving those problems. But it's often most CSMs that don't have that experience find it really hard to elevate those conversations. How do you as a leader kind of think of empowering the team, and where do you take on the ownership, and what are some kind of recommendations that you might have for folks that are in this position where their bosses are saying, I need to get into the C-suite, get me in. How do you push back and be like, dude, you're the C-suite, go reach out to them yourself?
Right? I got to piggyback on that because, John, I was literally, I just came off of mute because I was going to ask that exact same question. Well, something in that vein. But Reanna, when you respond to John's question, if I could piggyback one more thing, I'd love you to weave in there. How do you also set expectations around the timeline? You said your CSM had been working on that for 3 years to get to that place. You've got people in companies who are like, great, CSM, go build executive relationships, expect that one conversation. Like after one conversation that you're going to have this really deep rooted relationship where you're going to be able to take this partnership from $1 to $10 million. So how do you also manage the expectations internally with the broader organization around the timeline that is required to go and build that?
Fantastic questions, all of them. So I think
I get the credit for it. That's
John's question was so insightful. I'll start with John's side though, because I think I am in a very unique situation and I'm well aware. My chief customer officer, as he would say, That's who I report to. He reports to our CEO. He is not a white tower or ivory tower leader in any way. So he's the first person to say, okay, and Josh has met him. Like he couldn't be more like accessible for our team. But I do think like there's a certain point where if the CEO, like the way that I explain it to our executive leaders, I'm like, I ask our CEO, if a CSM from one of the software tools that we use wanted to meet with you, would that get your attention? He's like, of course it wouldn't. Like that's ridiculous. And especially I was just at a conference and it was like most enterprise companies have like 230 software applications now. So it's like, okay, so I'm one of 230 CSMs trying to get the attention of a CEO or, that is a very difficult task. So I think the first advice I would give is how can you equip your main POCs with what we call a third party story? They could be like, give them examples of, listen, in your role, it's really beneficial. Like our best customers who have the best adoption, who are seeing growth using our software, like winning more deals, closing more profitable projects, whatever, insert your value prop there. Like we get the best results when our executives are talking to your executives, and here's how. So it's like you almost get, because what I did early in my career as a CSM is I was trying to get the direct report, the director or the VP that I'm working with to get the C-level engagement on their own and trying to drive it through them instead of saying, how would you feel if my chief customer officer or my CFO reached out to your CFO? But you have to have that executive buy-in. And if you're in a company where your executives will not, and by the way, I've been there too, and that sucks. And that is really freaking hard when you are, there was a place that I worked a while back and like, I just didn't get that air cover. Like I was the end of the road. No one above me would come in and like ever engage with customers. And I know that it's hard to get jobs right now, but like I'd be looking for a company where I had that executive buy-in all the way from the top. And that's what I have. Our CEO has said to me, hey, just tell me who you want me to call. I'll call anybody. Like I'll go visit anybody, because I think I'm at a company where customer success is not a department for us. It is truly something that like all of our executives take on. We're bonused in a way that the whole company is bought into our customers being successful. And I think like that really helps, because everyone, all the way our head of product, say like I can literally get anybody to call on any customer. And so I think that's where, but we've said to our CSMs, like, do what you can, try to, again, work the angle of, hey, our partnership is stronger when, we have our executives talk to your executives. Are you open to that? Because if so, I will have so-and-so reach out. I do some of the outreach. I think our chief customer officer, definitely, when you add that C, it certainly helps get the attention of another C-level executive. They just tend to like to talk to each other more than, again, a CSM when you have 231 software applications.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So Kristi, I don't know if that kind of answered your question, but it's like, that's, without that partnership at my exec level, I know we would not be as successful as we have been, because and again, it helps if you have a CSM that leaves or a CSM that switches roles within the organization, then we're set up because we have more than one touch point, even on our team. Like, I feel like we always think about making sure you're multi-threaded on the customer side. But for us, it's like, most of our enterprise accounts have a product person that knows them well. They have a CSE, they have a CSM, they have an executive, they have me, and actually some people in support that end up, talking to them, engaging with them. So that's really what we're trying to do, is build the multi-threading on both sides. And it does take that exec buy-in. I don't know how you do it otherwise. It would be really hard. I'm sure LinkedIn, like reaching out in certain ways and trying to engage, but like it would be really hard for me without my execs like being in the trenches with us.
Well, I also think there's this kind of realization that a lot of us come to, right? If we have, let's say we have 1,000 customers, or how many people we're kind of working with, and the expectation is that every CSM is multi-threaded with every executive. How can our CEO be connected with 1,000 CEOs and have like a deep connection? So this isn't to say you shouldn't strive for those. Obviously, that's where segmentation comes in and kind of growth mindset. But the reality of like what multi-threaded means is not every platform needs a CEO to CEO connect. Now,
That's very true.
Not to say you shouldn't always look for like, opportunities to connect, but oftentimes like a lot of the power in those growth, like I forget what the phrase is, but like most CEOs don't care about things that are under $10 million in spend, right? Depending on the size of the company. So like if you're a CSM and somebody's paying you $20,000, like you will never get into the room with the CEO. So why as leaders are we pushing these stories to say, we need to have executive connections. We need to have this. It's almost like we need to look at the mirror ourselves and realize how important we are. Not to be diminutive, but just to make sure that we're like fighting the right cause instead of trying to play in a field that, we don't have any space for.
Well, and I was throwing the term CEO around a lot too. And you're right, because you said something that we have made a big distinction, which is executive level contact. Like for us, especially architects and engineering, in those types of practices, a lot of times it's a principal. Their title is just principal, but they are like driving growth of that company. I'm thinking of a couple of VPs that we work with that we're like, that is the executive. Like, it doesn't need to be the CEO. It's development, and that dude is the one, or that gal is the one like driving that particular growth. We like literally label them in our system as such. So it's like, don't just look for the C-level title. We have a way of flagging, hey, this is actually the person, even though it might not look like their title says they're the person, they're the one that we want to be connected with. So it definitely, and we have different levels of that with our segments as well. Like enterprise is one thing, mid-market is something different, SMB certainly not the same expectation of, knowing the CEO at all those accounts. That would be impossible.
Reanna, you mentioned labeling it in your system. So you guys have a Power BI dashboard that you built, right? That helps you track all these things. How do you get the team, how do you create the operations and procedures around keeping that data hygiene fresh?
So I think isn't that always the struggle? It's like, how fresh is it when you're manually inputting something? Like, story of our lives. No, I think but really I feel like every time we ask a customer success team to do anything, and everyone wants us to track 75 different data points, manually. They just think that that's all we have. We can just go in and manually update fields all day. So whenever we're asking the team to do something like this, it's always starting with, why is this important? So we actually frame up like how much we had some talk with people about how much better our retention is when we have executive relationships versus when we don't. So like linking it back to NRR, GRR, which
wait. We're going to pause. We're going to pause so you can actually pull up the talking points, because this is a talking podcast. And I feel like the talking points on this would be very compelling for people. That might even make the headline of the episode.
Damn it. I need to find, because this was years ago when we did it.
Okay, you'll fax it to us later.
It's fine. The headline's definitely going to be about peanut butter cups.
I hope so. That would get a lot of attention. I will find it, but it was a very specific talking point that I used, and I will find it and send it. But let's just say retention better when executives are present. That was like the highlight. So getting them to understand, and then getting them to understand, like, how are we going to use the data?
But is it the dashboard that you're putting this data in, what you're inputting? Is it just, this is a person that we've spoken to, or this is a person that we went to a meeting with, or this is like, or are they qualifying and labeling the depth of their relationships? So a good buddy of mine is Ziv Peled. And
I listened to that one. I listened to that podcast episode. He was great.
Yeah, Ziv's awesome. And so, I mean, he's built this amazing Looker dashboard. And if you ever want to see it, like, Ziv is so proud and so boastful.
He's so happy to show it off.
Oh my God. He will show it off like to anybody that walks down the street. Hey, Ziv, can I see your Looker dashboard? So, anyways, he's a good friend. So, he asked his CSMs to like rate, for each of the stakeholders on the customer side. I think it's like 1 through 5. Like a 1 is, if I message this person, they would get back to me immediately. Or 2 is, if I message this person, they'll get back to me by the end of the day. 3 is by tomorrow. 4 is sometime this week. 5 is not at all. Like literally down to that level. Do you have, like, how are you at, what type of information are you asking from of your CSMs?
I love that idea. And I would love to get to that level of maturity. So we basically, are they identified system was the first step, which we had this year. This was sort of brand new, where we're like, we need to make sure, because again, you can't just go by title. We wanted to be able to identify who were the right people, even if it's not C-level, that would qualify as executive.
Right.
From there, we build out reports. So for instance, for enterprise, we would expect that once every quarter. Now that I'm leaning towards 6 months, honestly, but we once every quarter, we have some sort of engagement with an executive at each of our enterprise accounts. For mid-market, it's once a year.
Yeah.
So we're saying annually, we would expect that we would have, and we have all different activity types. So the way we built the report is if it says CSR, EBR, or on-site meeting, or there's a couple different, it doesn't count if it's just like that person attended a webinar, or again, we sent an email to that person, and we don't even count, did they email us back? That's not engaged. That could be a meaningless email that has nothing to do with the partnership. But I think that's the next phase of, I do wonder how you keep that up to date, because that whole state, but
there's an app for that.
Looker.
No, it's in your
called
phone.
UpdateAI.
We're trying, Josh. We're trying. Listen,
I know we're working through the AI board review. I know. Yes, I know. By the way, we should actually talk about that.
Internal QBRs this week, and I just want you to know it's a talking. I'll show you how I wove it in.
No,
anyway,
I appreciate it. But by the way, like, so I speak to hundreds of prospects, right? No, I speak to thousands of prospects. My pipeline is huge, right? Anyways, but millions of prospects. Reanna is the only company that I've heard of so far that has an AI board review, which I thought was super cool. Mm-hmm. Like they actually have like assembled a group of leaders that go through and they have like a framework and a governance and all this stuff. Like it's actually the most mature review of AI that I've seen from any company. So kudos to you guys for stepping that up. Okay. Anyways, our podcast producer, Manali, who I love, has asked us to please keep a finite number of minutes on these recordings because it increases the listenership and the lack of drop off on our episodes. Also, I think because we don't pay her for more than that. So
I think it's more that we only pay her to edit 35 minutes of audio a week.
Is that why she tells me to cut down my episodes?
Well, no, she just thinks you talk too much. So she also does Kristi's She's So Sweet, which is an amazing podcast that I've
very kind,
I have dabbled.
Yeah. Well, anything with Kristi is amazing. So I guess that's the abrupt end because now we're at 36 minutes. way to monologue our way out of here, huh?
Wow, Josh, that was worse than my opening.
No. Everybody go around. This is like this is Meet the News. This is Meet the Press, right? You all get the 30 seconds overage, right? While the producer is in the person's ear saying, get off the air. So, John, you first. You get your 30 seconds.
What about happy
Say goodbye.
Monday? I love you.
Okay, great. Kristi?
Okay. Reanna, thank you so much. I'm going to do a follow-up with you, though, because I do have some more questions on the executive engagement piece because I've done some analysis on the EBR, QBR process, and I want to dig a little bit deeper with you since that's something that you guys do. And it seems like it's successful for you.
Rihanna, give one last gold nugget. This is one of my
favorite topics, Kristi. So yes, please, let's do that.
Yeah, I love the topic too. So what's the last golden nugget you can give our fans here, our raving fans, about executive stakeholdership?
Executive stakeholdership. I would also say just don't give up. I feel like sometimes you try to reach out to someone and you're like, well, I tried. There's a lot of ways of reaching out to people and use your internal execs to help. That would probably be my golden nugget at this point, and eat Reese's pumpkins. I think
Reese's pumpkins. There you go. And I would agree with you, by the way. Like executives are not as off-putting or whatever as you think they might be, right? They want to be engaged. So don't be afraid to reach out. Like it's not, they don't bite. That's my last.
But also don't waste their time, right? Have some good stuff to share with them. Because if you engage them and you waste their time, they're never going to talk to you again. So that's probably another podcast episode.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.